And so that brings us to the state legislature and action affecting Brevard County. There's several bills that are in committee that will affect Brevard County, and we wanted you to know about it. And so at the top of the list is insurance for disabled firefighters. And so there's a bill in committee to actually ensure that the firefighters are insured for those who are disabled. And so what do you think about that, Katie?
I think this is great, and it also expands the insurance to their families of firefighters who have been injured in training. And so I think that just like military spouses, law enforcement, we want to make sure that the people who serve our community, that them and their families are taken care of.
And that's throughout the state, right? I think that bill is covering all firefighters throughout the state. Also, and it's interesting, they're revising the term for cigarette. And so they're making giving specific understanding, and this bill is in committee as well, as to what a cigarette is. It seems a little laborious to be able to do that and go through the details of it, but still, you looked at that, and they actually are defining a cigarette as what?
Defining the term heated tobacco product, revising the definition of the term tobacco product, etc. And so it's still sitting in, it's been filed, and it's on the committee agenda. So I think we need to wait and watch that committee to see, what this is.
Are they distinguishing the cigarette from what we used to call back in the day dope? I mean, is that what it's distinguishing? What did they say why they're doing this? It's just really interesting that they're making that distinction, and probably some issue came up somewhere down the line. The next thing is increasing offenses for animal cruelty. Now, they took great pains in this, Katie, to make sure that they're not going to provide for offenses like chicken processing or any kind of agricultural use, right? But this is real animal cruelty?
Absolutely, yeah.
And so what are they wanting to increase the fines?
Definitely increase the punishment, which it should be. I mean, there are people who unfortunately get a slap on the wrist for abusing animals, and that's just, horrible.
And then the last thing is that you have this issue. Now, this is the controversial thing that it seems like there is in committee a bill to authorize public schools to acquire and maintain as a supply of glucagon, which is a hormone to regulate blood glucose levels. And you're sitting here wondering, well, what is this about? And so you know that there are students that probably have, they're diabetic. This is authorizing, from what we see in the bill, the opportunity for the school to mete out this hormone to students that maybe are having diabetic attacks, or what?
Yeah. Well, and it also provides certain persons and entities with immunity from civil and criminal liability.
So what they're presuming is that somebody has an attack, a diabetic attack, and so if this bill is not there, they could not react to that attack and give the person what they needed. Is that what the issue is?
The thing that worries me as a mom, it doesn't seem that you have to have parental consent for this, which
so this would override.
I feel like this kind of violates the Parental Bill of Rights. There is not anything that is going on in schools that should be happening without parents being notified, being asked.
Particularly with regard to medication. I mean, that's a pretty sticky thing there, right?
And for them to not be held liable if something goes wrong, I mean, this is way too much to put on school administrators and teachers. I don't think that this should be put on educators' shoulders.
Well, there's a lot of things being put on educators today.
Right.
We'll keep up with this bill because that's a very curious one, and we want to make sure that you're aware of what is happening with that particular issue. And so we want to continue to keep you aware of the bills that are moving through the state legislature that are affecting Brevard County in order that you will be informed of what's going on. And thank you for joining us on this segment.